Hello, everyone. My name is Stuti Karmarkar. I'm a clinical psychologist, and in today's session, we are going to talk about stage fear. Fear is basically an unpleasant emotion that it is basically triggered when a person perceives a situation to be harmful or threatful to them. Now, this perception can either be real or an imagined one. Generally, fear is seen in both ways. Fear is seen as something that's positive and something that's negative as well. Now, when I say positive, it means that generally when you have a deadline to meet. So when you actually scare that, oh gosh, I won't be able to complete it on time, or I won't be able to give my assignment on time and get my marks, or like generally when you have an exam the next day and you are still not prepared for it, so the fear of failing in your examination will actually push you, give you that boost of energy or motivation to go ahead and finish your task beforehand. So in a sense, fear in that way is a good thing that actually motivates you. But on the other hand, fear is also something where it can break down a person's confidence, especially when a person in any sort of situation would feel that he or she is losing their control. So that is a negative side of fear. Fear is either real or imagined. Okay, so most of time people who experience stage fear or stage fright, these guys are someone who have already have an underlying anxious experiences, or someone who's already going through feelings of stress. So for them the trigger of fear is even more than someone who normally would not have. Now, having said that, stage fear does not really mean that only people who have, like I mentioned, stress or anxiety would actually have fear. We also see people who normally are used to crowd and public speaking might also sometimes tend to experience stage fear. Now, generally, when a person experiences this sort of fear, you will find them either trembling, sweating, having a headache, or having an upset stomach, having dry mouth. They would also experience rapid heartbeat or shortness of breath. So these are certain symptoms that people who have stage fright go through or they experience when they are either asked to give a talk, give a presentation, or perform on stage. So generally these are the areas, and not just presentation or talks or performance, but also we do see stage fright or stage fear when you have a job interview that you have to give, or even when you have a one-on-one meeting with someone who's new. So even in these situations, you do experience fear, which is also considered under stage fear. Someone who's already knows that he or she does have this sort of fear, we generally see that they tend to start having these symptoms way before the actual event or the actual presentation is there. So they would either tend to avoid this kind of commitment where they are asked to present or lead a discussion or give an interview or give a presentation of sorts, or you even perform on stage. So their first reaction is avoidance. Second is if they feel that they cannot avoid because they're under pressure from their higher authorities, they tend to fall sick. They will either have a running temperature, or they would have an upset stomach. They would start trembling at the thought of it, and generally this whole fear takes on a physical expression or outburst. Like I said, in terms of feeling shaky, trembling, or running temperature. And as the days come closer, as the days draw nearer to the actual event, their symptoms start exaggerating, and they might probably, start having shortness of breath, or they have rapid heartbeat, they start sweating, and so on. Who have stage fear, this is how they generally react to it. There are different ways to overcome stage fear. A is definitely when you have this sort of fear, you will have to go see an expert, wherein we generally tend to slowly give you all the exposure from the lower level that would cause you anxiety to the actual event or the actual sort of scenarios where you all tend to where you're expected to perform or present. So first and foremost, see a therapist. Okay, talk to them, because a lot of time what happens is this fear could also have other underlying issues which also need to be worked on and helped with, so that these this kind of fear would actually diminish. Sometimes when people have this sort of fear of failing, fear of rejection, fear of being avoided, fear of being judged, so this kind of fear actually tends to trigger fear of stage, or stage fear, stage fright. And sometimes this would have happened because of previous experiences the person may have had, either being rejected or embarrassed or being judged or being mocked at, or just not given the right opportunities, and hence the person's confidence is completely diminished. So we need to also, so when you see a therapist, we generally tend to look into all different aspects as to what would have actually triggered your stage fear, and then work backwards and help you get over this fear and develop the confidence that you need to perform in public. Second thing is, keep practicing. Now if you're someone who has actually had a fewer instances where you have actually presented, or were able to go forward and participate where there are people around you, but have slowly started developing this sort of fear, then the thing for you all to do is keep practicing. So practice, 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 practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of a friend, practice with your spouse or partner, your family member, anyone. Keep practicing your material as much as possible till you gain the confidence that, yeah, I am able to do so. Also, having said that, when you're practicing in front of someone who you are very close to and comfortable with, ask them what is it that you can improve on. Ask them what are their feedback towards the way you have presented. So that kind of helps you to be able to build on those smaller areas where you need some fixing to happen, and then give you that energy, or that boost, or that confidence to actually do what you can do the best. Another thing is deep breathing. Start exercising deep breathing techniques. Now all over the internet you have a lot of techniques to help you do that. Whichever suits you, whichever is feasible, whichever you feel you can do out in public also, start doing that. I would say a week before you have your presentation, and do it over and over again, a couple of times in a day. And you will find yourself being able to bring down your heartbeat, bring and breathe properly. And whatever stiffness, tightness that you might feel in your heart or around your chest area, all that will actually uh, you know get back to its normal rhythm, and help you to be comfortable, help you to be confident, and help you to be able to finish what you have started or you're expected to do. And other thing is, you got to rest well and eat well. Generally when you are tense because you have a deadline or you have something to present, you tend to your sleep pattern goes upside down because you're constantly thinking about the way you're going to perform, or you don't tend to eat well. So it's also important that you take care of what you eat, and also have ample amount of sleep a couple of days before you actually have your event. Another thing is, focus on your material. Whatever that you are expected to perform, present, or even if you're performing, whatever it is that you're doing, focus on that. See how well you can do. A lot of times you need to remember that you need to stick to what works for you. A lot of people will tell you out there that, why don't you try this method? Why don't you try that method? If there is something that you have already done earlier and are comfortable with that particular technique, or that strategy, or that kind of method that you have done earlier, and if you feel you're comfortable with that, stick to it. Stick to what really works for you, and then go ahead with your presentation or your performance, because that will actually give you that comfort zone that you're already used to. Plus it will give you the feeling of, what, I can pull this off and I'll be able to do this better than trying new techniques and actually scared that will I be able to do it or not, or pull it off or not. Stage fear can be prevented because, like I said, fear is something a person perceives, which means it is basically subjective. Because what I would be scared of, you might not be scared of, and vice versa. So stage fear, like I said, if you go to a therapist, we will know what is the underlying cause of this stage fear, so we'll help you overcome that, and in turn this gets sorted. Another thing is, when you have, when you tend to practice, when you tend to take over the techniques that we generally give you all, or the other techniques that I said, that if it's not as severe as you feel that you need to go to a therapist, but can do the other remaining options that I've given you all. If you feel you can work on that, then definitely stage fear can be reversed. Stage fear can be prevented as well.